Unresolved conflicts are the worst thing in project environment. Why? People have to work together while a disagreement stands between them and it impacts all the decisions that they make. At the same time, it adds more stress to you because people get demotivated and unhappy. It feels like they may quit your project when enough is enough. So, as a great project manager, you need to use a structured approach to conflict resolution. And you'll learn such an approach in this video. But can you turn all the conflicts into a constructive discussion? Unfortunately, you have no choice. And the real problem is that conflicts are not only about disagreements between team members. You may have authoritative stakeholders conflicting about project's priorities. Or your boss may conflict with you because of your leadership approach. So, you need to know how to resolve conflicts with people who are beyond your direct control. If you don't develop conflict resolution skills, you'll fail projects. In addition, people will leave you as a manager because they think you support such an aggressive environment. Just like you, I learned everything the hard way. At the start of my career, I made all possible mistakes related to conflict resolution. That's why I would like to share the step-by-step process I use today. It saved me from many problems and built great working relationships with people. Step number 1. Identify a conflict. During office days, we could see people interact with each other. You could hear how they talk. The body language and facial expressions helped you a bit. But in general, it was apparent when people conflicting with each other. What's even worse, supporting a quarrel online is much easier than in person. Just take a look at Facebook comments, for example. So, I believe the biggest challenge today is to identify the conflict before it gets to the point of no return. Unfortunately, there is no app to help you identify a conflict. The only efficient way to do it is through one-on-one meetings. So, for example, if you haven't talked privately with your team members for a long time, I can guarantee there is a slight conflict or two you already missed. So, start planning out 30 minutes call with your key team members tomorrow. If you have a big team, you need to delegate these sessions to your group leaders. But before you do so, give them a brief refresher on leadership and communication skills. Then, if they identify a conflict, you can step up and help them to resolve it. And you must capture all these conflicts into an issue log. It's a simple spreadsheet where you can see all conflicts in a chronological order. Step number 2. Find the root cause of the conflict. One definition of a conflict is a difference in ideas, feelings, needs that prevent agreement. I want to stress this out. When you see two people arguing, it's the display of a conflict. But the root cause is somewhere in the difference of ideas, feelings or needs. So, even when it seems like two persons argue about some technical aspects of a project, there might be a more profound need. For example, one engineer wants to establish himself as an expert in front of another. So, he needs recognition. And this is utterly important. You need to fix the underlying problem, not what people show you on the surface. One of the best techniques to find the root cause is the 5 whys technique. In theory, you simply need to ask the why questions 5 times based on the answer. In practice, it's more complicated because you need to do it smoothly. So let me show you an example. 5 whys technique example.
Hey, hi Maria, thanks for joining. I want to understand what's happening between you and Peter. Why did you start that quarrel right at the meeting? Did something happen?
I think Peter is a bad team leader. I don't want to work with him anymore. I should probably leave the project.
Okay, why do you think Peter is bad as a leader? Did something specific happen?
He's nagging me all the time. He checks my work more than anyone else.
Oh, well, why does he do that? Any thoughts?
He thinks I cannot be trusted.
No way. Why would you say that?
Well, last week, I accidentally deleted some data while improving performance. I didn't check it with Peter, but I accept my mistake. Oh, oh, he probably didn't tell you.
No, he didn't. But, okay, anyway, why did you decide to make that change on your own?
I don't know. I wanted to prove my solution was way better. Actually, I didn't want to tell, but I'm planning to apply for that data engineer role in our department. I thought it might give me some bonus points.
So, as you can see, the root cause was so far from the initial claim. For me, this concept of finding the root cause of a conflict was the biggest game changer. Imagine you can listen and understand the real problem a person has. Moreover, you show that you care and you want to resolve the underlying issue. Let me ask you this. Do you think you'll become a true leader for this person after you resolve the real problem? That's precisely why I believe you need to have a structured conflict resolution approach. Step number 3. Ask for a solution. The best conflict resolution results come from collaboration. That is why you need to ask for a solution from the conflicting people rather than proposing one yourself. And it's better to do it on a meeting. The first step is to summarize the problem. Then you may want to remind conflicting parties of the project team's core values and ground rules. After that, you need to ask what they think would be the best way to resolve this conflict. For example, I would say something like this. So, how can we fix it as a team? What constructive options do we have? What would be the best outcome for our project? Then you need to keep your people focused on problem solving or collaboration. Your goal is to find a permanent solution to fix the root cause of the problem. If you have no other options, you can consider finding a compromise or enforce a solution yourself. Step number 4. Develop a written plan. Next, you must follow up on all the discussions and meetings with a written note. Keep in mind that people get emotional in these situations. Therefore, they may not clearly comprehend or remember all the agreements. So you need to capture a resolution plan. This plan should include action items as well as checkpoints. You don't want to allow the conflict to drag for weeks and months. After that, you also need to note this resolution plan into your issue log. Also, keep in mind that conflicts happen not only with team members. You personally will have disagreements with project stakeholders. And in general, you need to start thinking about a conflict in broader terms. It's not just quarreling in workplace. Conflict can arise in regards to requirements, priorities, timelines, or any other aspect of a project. Nevertheless, the process is the same in all these cases. But when you conflict with stakeholders, it won't be a private conversation. So you need to inform other stakeholders about your agreements. That is why you need to capture it in an email. Step number 5. Control the conflict resolution. Overall, your goal is to ensure that conflicting parties do not put their disagreement on the back burner. Instead, they need to resolve it proactively. Otherwise, this conflict turns into a bomb with a time delay. It will backfire in the most inappropriate moment for you. So, in the previous step, you came up with an action plan. Now you must control this process. That's why I recommend you schedule a follow-up meeting at once. At this meeting, you need to ask each party to share their vision of the progress towards the conflict resolution. Then it's a chance for you to adjust the plan if required. And again, send an email and update your issue log after each checkpoint. Step number 6. Verify the conflict is fully resolved. So you need to have another open discussion with conflicting parties. Now you need to ask them directly if they feel the conflict is resolved, or there is still something going on and they are unhappy with it. After all the efforts, people may not want to escalate the conflict again. even if they are unhappy with the outcome. So you need to use some empathy and active listening to ensure that they tell you the truth. On the other hand, you may also want to monitor the conflicting parties for a while. Or additionally, you may ask their colleagues if everything is fine behind the scenes. This way you verify that the conflict is actually resolved. Imagine that you never forget about a single conflict. Moreover, you resolve underlying, deeper and emotional problems that your people have. Imagine the impact you will have as a leader on the lives and careers of your team members. That's exactly why such a structured conflict resolution approach will make you a great project manager. But here's another critical aspect of conflict resolution. You need to keep an eye on recurring conflicts between the same people. If you see that you have a difficult stakeholder or team member, you need to deal with them a bit differently. That's why I recommend watching these videos about dealing with difficult people on the project. So click one of these videos now and let's continue our discussion further. See you there!